Welcome to Locked On Lads TV here for the ANZCAR Thunder series. It's the Xfinity series. It's round number 10 for the Locked On Lads 150 here at Dover International Speedway, the Monster Mile itself. And joining me up in the booth tonight, along with Mr. Peter Wilkinson, is a newcomer to the world of commentary on ovals, a bit of a monster himself, Mr. Braden Martin. Braden, welcome to the booth, mate.
Thank you very much, Carl. It's nice to be here. Thought I'd drop by for this very special night, with it being the Locked On 150. And, you know, what better way to do it at Dover, a place that I've actually driven in oval races before. So who would have thought? Having said that, it wasn't an open wheel Skip Barber, but, you know, same.
Exactly, they're exactly the same. They're pretty much identical. The only thing that's different is there's a slightly smaller spoiler on the back of the Xfinity car. Other than that, identical.
Yeah, I'd say they probably fall apart just as badly as these Xfinity cars might if we have a few accidents tonight as well.
Yeah, very much so. Always a thing you've got to watch out for. And we, of course, have our producer, Mr. Peter Wilkinson. Welcome, Wilco. How are you going, mate?
I am exhausted, but I'm here to say hello to you all, and then I'm going to go quiet for a while. But no, we're going very well. We back into podcasting last night, back into broadcasting tonight. It's all happening. My life is spinning wheels again and going nowhere. So I'm glad to be here, and thank you, Carl, and thank you, Braden, for jumping in and helping me out. But we are about to get into qualifying, mate. Dover is a very special place in my heart. We've mentioned it before. That's why we've got the Locked On Lads Dover 150. We've done Skip Barber here a few times. We've seen many accidents. Saw Braden get into the not top 10 here. I got my best ever finish in a Skip Barber, or not, second best finish in a Skip Barber race. I think top 5 or top 6 or something like that. Qualified 4th on the grid. It was really a good place to be. But Carl, what do we expect? I hear blown tyres, fuel, all kinds of things coming in tonight.
Yeah, look, one of the things, Dover, it is high banking. It is a concrete surface as well, so it's a bit rough on the old tyres. It means that it's quite grippy out there. Well, not grippy, but it's sort of quite, it eats up the tyres quite well. Really high banking here as well. There is not an area of this track where it isn't banked other than pit road. You've got 9 degrees of banking down the straights and then 24 degrees around the corners. It's about getting the lap absolutely perfect. And we see Josh Micklemore here coming for his qualifying lap in the Mitch Motorsport entry. It's just getting the car in the right place at the right time and avoiding issues as well. The car will get really tight here on the exit of the corners, and that's what you've got to watch out for, is creeping up towards that wall. It's very easy to tag it and take yourself out of a lap here at Dover. You want to try and be up towards the front if you can to avoid any accidents, and that's exactly what Micklemore does as he places it on pole position on his second lap.
Yeah, it's a very interesting course to drive around. In my experience, obviously very limited around the ovals, but the one thing I do remember from driving the Skip Barber around here at the very least was how important it was to make sure you keep your line, any sort of drift up the track, and you know, although having said it is quite sloped, there's plenty of banking, but the cars run so close together that any little drift up the track can cause a really big wreck, and there's not a lot of places to go like some of the big open tracks where you can put yourself down onto the apron. If you have a big one here, it normally takes out quite a few people.
Yeah, very much so. And it's also sort of similar on the opposite end of the scale. If you go too low and tag the apron because of the banking, the steepness of that banking, it will really unsettle the car and cause it to have an almighty moment and often a big spin around and then a big crash involved afterwards as well.
Yeah, definitely seen a few of those in our time as we see a very interesting Australian car, we could say, on the track at the moment. The nice little green tinned version of the Xfinity car, looking very, very stellar for the number 20 of Brad Fenley. How do you expect this race to pan out tonight? What are the key factors, and what are the big moments that you think are going to come out of this one?
The key things are going to be keeping the cars relatively clean and safe, trying to keep out of trouble. That's going to be the main goal. Try not to push too hard in the early stages as well. Keeping those tyres alive is going to be crucial. Obviously, it's going to depend on cautions. How many cautions do we have tonight? We don't know. Obviously, if we get a fair few cautions, then that's going to make a difference as well for fuel mileage, but also tyre wear. Keeping the tyres alive, though, is going to be one of the main goals for the drivers in the early stages, not racing too hard. You might see somebody try and run away quite early on, and they'll gain a nice lead, but then they'll start dropping back quite quickly, and that can work out if you get quite a few cautions, as Michael Skurlock takes it up to the pole position place, taking away Josh Micklemore's pole there with a 23.388. A fantastic job there. Very, very nice run from Master Michael Skurlock.
Yeah, it's nice to see big Mick Skurlock on the top of the grid. You know, I kind of see Michael Skurlock as a de facto locked-on lad. We've had him drive with our very own Nathan Verney in the past, and you know, we have tried to recruit him a couple of times. Wilco's tried to throw the big bucks out to him, but we just haven't been able to net that big fish just yet. How do you see lap traffic coming into play on a track like this?
Well, you're going to be wanting to avoid to go a lap down, so people will race hard to keep on that lead lap as well. That's something else that you've got to keep an eye out for, of course. One of the big things in NASCAR, as we always say, is blue flags. They do exist on road courses. They don't exist on the oval courses. It is all about racing position, and if you are that car that is just in front of the leaders, you don't want to be lapped by them just in case that caution comes out. Just before we tick over into the race, I'm just going to quickly run through the standings of the championship as we are. So at the moment, it is Hamish Gallagher in the lead. The drop rounds have been taken into account as well, I believe. So it's Hamish Gallagher in the lead, 29 points ahead of Michael Skurlock in second. So big news for Michael Scott getting up there. That's going to be useful for him and useful for his championship hopes. Josh Mickelmore in third, 47 points down. 50 points down in fourth is Jaden Russell. Fifth is Ruben Phelps, 56 points down. Sixth is Matty Ray, 67 down. Seventh is Norman Clark, 80 down. Eighth is Joshua Carroll Walden, 82 points down. Dave Douglas in ninth, 90 points off the league. 92 points down is Nigel Patton. So that is going to be interesting to see how it all plays out. Of course, as we say, the drop rounds have been taken into account. So it's pretty much for the championship now. So Hamish Gallagher is going to want to have some good runs, and he's got to watch out for Michael Skurlock, because if he has a good race tonight, he could be in with a real shot.
Yeah, as we just start to have a look at the grid here. So like you said before, Michael Skurlock has put it on pole alongside Josh Mickelmore rounding out the other front row grid spot.
Yeah, then row two is Dylan O'Shea and Jaden Russell.
Friend of the podcast and the Locked On Lads, Ryan Jones in fifth from Luke Traher in sixth.
Then we have Hamish Gallagher and Stevie Williams in seventh and eighth on the fourth row.
And rounding out your top 10 will be Greg Spencer and Brad Fenley in the VB car.
Yeah, a bit of a tasteless car there, you got to say. In P11 and 12, we have Daniel Hedershide and Dave Douglas. Norman Clark, Phil Otto behind him at 13th, 14th, 15th, 16th is Paul Jackson and Simon Hedershide. Then we go down towards Luke Georgeson and Wesley Closely. Nigel Patton and Nathan Rollock, Matt Hunter, Ruben Phelps, Jamie Nankervis, Maddie Raymond, Tristan Koch, Noddy Tompkins, Brett Campbell, rounding out the 27 cars. I believe Kai Turner is possibly out there. No, I don't think he's made it. So just the 27 cars out there tonight.
Yeah, as the cars take out behind the pace car. I got that right, Carl? Behind the pace car tonight to get this underway. What are we looking for off the start line here?
Hopefully a clean start. That's the ideal one for tonight. A clean getaway for all. Of course, try not to get in anybody's way. Try not to have any big wrecks or big moments. Obviously, wheel spin is going to be a big thing. You should. I think it is 2 laps under the pace car here for the because it is only a mile. So I think it is 2 laps. I'm trying to remember now. But it's going to be getting the brakes up to temperature, things like that. So you're going to have drag in the brakes as the pace car comes in. So it's just 1 lap as we get ready to go green for the Locked On Lads 150 here at Dover for round 10 of the Xfinity Championship for ANZCAR. Away we go as Michael Skurlock gets a great jump at the start.
Yeah, nice and clean. Mickelmore sitting out on his outside. The field spreads out pretty quickly. It's definitely not too bunched up, but really nice start by Michael Skurlock, sort of asserting some dominance at the moment across the field.
Ryan Jones creeping his way up there as well. He's pushed his way past Josh Micklemore, as well as Dylan O, as well as Jaden Russell, I should say. So Ryan Jones up into third now. He's trying to move up quite quickly.
Yeah, they've sort of found their way into single file here at the moment. No one taking too many risks. Like you said, 150 laps around this concrete jungle. So no need to do anything too drastic just yet. Maybe starting to think about tyre management really early. But Michael Skurlock just controlling the field. Him and Dylan O'Shea are sort of making a little bit of a breakaway from Ryan Jones in third place.
Yeah, starting to pull away a little bit up the front, but is that bolting a little bit too early? Is it showing a bit too much pace too quickly? As we said, you can overheat the tyres if you push too hard, and that's something else you've got to watch out for, is overheating that rear tyre. That rear tyre starts to get a bit hot. It is very hard to cool it down. You can see O'Shea starting to put pressure on Skurlock at the front now as well. Ryan Jones is leading that secondary pack as well. It's pretty much single file racing all the way down the field at the moment. We saw Dave Douglas and Greg Spence having a little bit of a moment. Dave Douglas getting past in the number 10, moving up past Spencer, who drops down a position and just gets a little bit high in the mid-corner as well. And that's something else you've got to watch out for, as we said before. Just rubbing up high, the car gets very tight in the mid-corner here, and then all of a sudden it can run up high. As up at the front, O'Shea's looking to make a move on Skurlock, which he does. Makes a nice run down the inside. Skurlock has to run up high. He's going to try to cut down, get underneath O'Shea for the straight here. Doesn't quite work out for him. O'Shea manages to take the lead of the race.
Yeah, it was interesting. I was just thinking in my head there, if you're Michael Skurlock, what do? You don't really want to be being pushed along by Dylan O'Shea, forcing you into using your tyres up early. So maybe he's content to sit behind Dylan and get a little bit of an easier run, maybe save a little bit of fuel if possible. But it's an interesting spot that Dylan put Michael in there, sort of forcing him to make a decision. Does he really want to push hard early, or is he going to give up the lead?
Yeah, and he did a beautiful overtake there as well, just pushing Michael Skurlock up the track a little bit, forcing him off that line. Skurlock couldn't come down, couldn't sort of come through the sort of low line of the track, so he ran up high, and that cost him a lot of time, and that's put him in the grips of Ryan Jones as well. Josh Micklemore's having the same issue at the moment with Jaden Russell, so there's a bit of a battle going on there, and then a little bit further back we've got a massive little fight going, I say a massive little fight. We've got a fight going on from Stevie Dub all the way down to Greg Spencer. So that's from 8th to 12th at the moment. And those guys are starting to battle a little bit harder, and they're pushing each other along. You've got Daniel Hedderscheid in there with Brad Fenley, Dave Douglas as well. So that battle's starting to heat up in the mid-pack.
Yeah, and as you said earlier, shorter track this week, did you say a mod? Oh, we do too. The 015 of
Brett Campbell,
yes, is around. I was just about to say, before rudely interrupted by this yellow flag, that with the shorter track this week, it was already getting to that point where after just 9 or so laps, that lap traffic was about to become a factor. It was already 18 seconds back to the last car on the lead lap. So, this caution will reset things, but, look towards that 20-25 lap marker, we might be hitting our first little bit of traffic.
Indeed, and you just see there what's happened. Campbell's rear tyres, I reckon, have just got a bit hot. That rear has let go on him in the mid-corner out of turns 1 and 2. And all of a sudden, the back end goes, and he's got nowhere to go. He goes down into the wall, keeps it down there, keeps the brakes on, waits for the whole field to pass, and then we'll head to pit lane. So that's the first caution, sort of just a single cast in.
Ooh,
Got away with that. Got away with that one just about. We tried to do the flick spin, but it's easy to happen, and you can see there the issue of the rear tyres, and it looks like maybe it was a heat issue there. They've just got a bit overheated on him, and the back end has just gone. It's almost like driving on ice. We've got Matt Hunter, Ruben Phelps, Jamie Nankervis, Tristan Koch, Luke Georgeson, and of course Brett Campbell in pit lane.
Well, we're under caution, Carl. Just how easy is it to overheat those tyres, and what are the factors in play that causes those rears to get so hot when you're going around a track like Dover?
So if you get any scrubbing on the rear, so if the rear starts stepping out a little bit on you, then that will absolutely start putting the heat up in them. Of course, wheel spin. When you're accelerating, you have to brake, of course, here. if you've got too much bias in the rear brakes, then that will absolutely cause issue as well. So there are so many things in play with that. So there's so many little things that can cause the rears to overheat and actually go into that sort of way. The way you stop it is by just relaxing the throttle pedal a little bit, not putting your foot on the accelerator too early, putting the brake bias to the front more. So getting more front brake bias. Of course, that does mean that the front tyres cop a little bit more, but they're going to cop it anyway here at Bristol. I mean, at Dover. It's Dover, so the front tyres are going to sort of get a beating anyway. So you've just got to really watch out. So not spinning up the tyres, not putting too much throttle on the exit of corner, and also not taking so much of a tight line as well. If you're taking a really tight entry, sometimes you can sometimes get a little bit too much heat, especially on the right rear, and that will start to cause it to overheat. And once it gets to a certain temperature, it's very hard to cool it down. And that's one of the biggest problems in a NASCAR, in the Xfinity, in the truck, in the Cup series, is trying to cool the tyres down when they get hot. It's a very tricky thing to do because you've only got a couple of seconds on the straight, which means you don't get much air onto the brakes. There's not much to cool them down, and there's not much to cool the tyres down either. So they're constantly in motion, sort of going through those corners. So you just have to really slow the car down and just sort of go for a few laps where it's really going to be painful on the old timing screen.
All small little parts to a big picture that can unravel really, really easily if you get it wrong. What do we see here from Dylan O'Shea on the restart? We saw Michael Skurlock get off to a really great start first time around from the start of the race. What's Dylan looking to do here?
Well, the big difference now, of course, in rules-wise, is O'Shea becomes the de facto leader, and it's his choice to go. With the start beforehand, it's on the green flag, so it is on the green to go at the start of the race. It's not on the leader. Once we get to the restart here, as they all start to form up 2 by 2, the Noah's Ark of Xfinity cars, it's on the leader. So O'Shea gets to put his foot down. Now, what he can do is wait for the pace car to go into pit lane and put his foot down on the corner, and that will mean that he can launch off the corner nice and easily and catch Skurlock out. He's got to try and catch Skurlock out on that restart. Try and get him to a point where maybe he makes Skurlock think that he's going to be accelerating. So Skurlock puts his foot down, tries to launch it, and then has to lift off because he can't overtake Dylan O'Shea before the line. So there's loads of little games at play here. What I think O'Shea will do, though, is put his foot down sort of right on the exit of the corner, pretty much as the pace car comes in, and go as early as possible. And I think that's what Ryan Jones is expecting. Will he do that? No, he's waiting, and he's going to wait until we get close to the line. He is really holding it, and away he goes. He launches it perfectly, gets a fantastic restart there, but he does change the lane, so that is going to cop him a penalty straight away.
Yeah, and you could see Ryan Jones having a little sniff up the inside of Michael Skurlock as well on that restart, but just couldn't quite get the job done. As you say, that is going to cost a 5 championship points, if I'm not mistaken, for the lane change. And as I found out in my race at Talladega earlier today, don't lane change and can overtake before the line on the inside, otherwise you end up with a black flag.
Yeah, absolutely. There's 5 penalty points for it. There's 5. You lose 5 championship points for it. You'll also get noted as well. You can't change lanes until you cross the start-finish line in ANZCAR. So you have to wait until you cross that start-finish line before you jump up to that high line. So O'Shea will get a penalty for that, and if he does it a couple more times, it can result in a disqualification as well.
Absolutely. Matthew Raymond having a really great race, up 7 spots so far, starting in P24 up to 17th, having that mid-pack battle, as we see him go 2 by 2 down the straight here. Some other good movers. They've got a bunch of people up 2 spots, but Daniel Hedershide up 3 spots into 8th spot as well.
Yeah, some nice little moves early on, a few nice little moves and things like that. A couple of people getting some good restarts as well. Quite a few people getting some positions from people pitting as well. The guys that came into pit lane just topped up on fuel, so they didn't take any tyres from what I could see. Just going to check on Tristan Koch actually, just to see if he did take
Yeah.
right side only.
My timing's saying that Ruben Phelps, Matt Hunter, and Jamie Nankervis and Tristan Koch all took tyres, but that could be wrong.
Yeah, no, they definitely didn't take tyres. So they were way too quick through there for that. So none of them took tyres. Tristan Koch was the only one that was on the bubble of possibly taking them. But they came into pit lane just to top up on fuel. So that gives them an extra couple of laps of fuel to deal with. Of course, tyre wear is one thing to watch out for, as Dave Douglas is getting a good run on Daniel Hederscheid at the moment, trying to make a move down in P8 and 9. He's trying to put Hederscheid off his mark and just doing a little bit of bump and run there. Little bit of tactics at play from Mr. Dave Douglas of the casting couch fame on the Natari car. Just rubbing the rear a little bit, unsettling the car and just putting the pressure on Hederscheid as well. And that's the try.
Know that is there.
Absolutely. That's it. It's more of a psychological thing. And he is going to try for a run up the high side. And then he's going to cut down nice and low on the exit. And Hederscheid's seen that. He's turned the car in early so he can cover it off. That's going to hurt Hederscheid's tyres a lot more, though, than it hurts Dave's tyres.
Yeah, and if you start to do that lap after lap after lap, you might not be getting the move done on this turn, this lap, but it's, forward thinking 5-10 laps into the future. That's when you're going to be able to get that move done. I've just refreshed my JRT and now all my tyre stops have gone, so you are correct there, Carl.
Yeah, it's a common little issue sometimes with the older timing and scoring software. It gets confused a little bit. But yeah, they just popped in for a little bit of fuel here, and that's going to give them an extra 10-15 laps of fuel. With the pace car out as well, being under caution, that will extend the fuel stints a little bit. So they'll probably be looking around about lap 85 to lap 95 to come into pit lane now, if we go green. But the guys that came in and stopped, they can possibly go to lap 100 to 110.
Yeah, and we're looking at about lap 70-ish for critical pit stop to get to the end, assuming that we managed to have a green run towards the end from there.
That's it, absolutely correct, yes. So yeah, lap 70 is the one to keep an eye out for, which we are quite a bit away from. We've got 126 laps remaining on lap 24 at the moment. So it does go quickly here though, because it is a very, very fast lap indeed. Even in the Xfinity car, it is still a very quick lap, some sort of 23-second-ish lap around here, and they are travelling at ridiculous speeds as well. Dover is a fantastic track. It's kind of like a mini super speedway.
Yeah, and the way that looks from above is just a beautiful track to look at. It's like a little coliseum with all the stands around. It's just, yeah, look at that. Just a beautiful track to look at. You can see the front leaders now starting to get around, that halfway mark towards catching the back markers. So, look out for that in another sort of 10 to 15 laps. We're getting close to getting our first taste of lap traffic for the race. But it's just at the moment, Dylan O'Shea really getting under pressure now from Michael Skurlock, with Ryan Jones sitting on the back with Josh Mickelmore and Jaden Russell sort of in the hunt in that top 5. You can see Ryan Jones just going up the track a little bit there, trying to take a little bit of a less tyre-hungry line. So it's good to see Ryan trying to think about maybe protecting some tyres for later in the race and see if he can maybe get the job done a little bit further down the track.
Greg Spencer getting a big bite of the wall coming out of turn number 4, taking a big chunk out of that car, so that's going to hurt him a little bit. Obviously, aero's not as dependent here, but any damage to a car does tend to slow it down a little bit. Meanwhile, up at the front, Skurlock's trying to make a little bit of a move. He is starting to put some pressure on O'Shea. It's not working at the moment, but he's starting to shape it up. He's starting to put his nose down a little bit lower, trying to force O'Shea into covering him off and then go higher on the exit of the corner. Tries to get a good run off the exit of the corner, using that sort of slingshot effect of going a little bit higher to get a little bit more speed off the corner exit. While O'Shea is down a bit lower, that means he's going to be slightly a bit slower. And you can see that Scott catching him by the corner as well. He's starting to apply the pressure to O'Shea now, who is still in his sort of rookie season in ANZCAR. Still sort of newish to the ovals as well. So he's got a lot of road racing experience, a lot of experience on dirt, things like that as well. But He's still learning a little bit on the old ovals, but he has been shooting his way up through the field constantly. Almost got a win at Talladega, of course. He is really, really doing well. Scullock puts his nose down the inside there, forces O'Shea up onto the high line. O'Shea tries to cover him, gets down there. Just enough room to get in front of Skurlock there. He cuts the nose off of Skurlock, manages to defend. Skurlock's really applying the pressure to the DPR car right now.
Yeah, and if you're Ryan Jones sitting in third place at the moment, I think you're licking your lips waiting for something to happen. But these two are both very experienced drivers. As you said, Dylan O'Shea, more experienced on the road side of things, but we know he can definitely steer. So you just got to be patient. It was a good attack from Michael Skurlock. He's now going to sit back and reevaluate. That first charge didn't quite get it done the way he wanted, so now he needs to think of a different strategy to try and get past Dylan O'Shea.
Yeah, so almost missed his opportunity there as Hamish Gallagher makes a bit of a move on Jaden Russell a little bit further back. Hamish Gallagher in at the 13, it gets a nice run down the inside. J. Russell on the outside, he's going to have to slow it down, otherwise he's going to go into the wall. Manages to keep it holding well. Hennessy just behind him, just gets a little bit squirrely, but Russell is on the outside. It's going to be a little bit more debris up there as well as the tyres start to wear. You're going to get a little bit of marbling up onto that high line, and that can slow you down a little bit. You can see Luke Trahair catching up, and Jaden Russell just slipped himself down in front of Trahair to block him off, but Hamish Gallagher has made the move and made the position, importantly for him and his championship hopes.
Yeah, and it looks like he's not quite done yet. Looks like he's got his eyes set on Josh Micklemore as well. So it'll be interesting to see how this plays out. And Ryan Jones starting to come back to Micklemore as well, as we sort of see Dylan O'Shea and Michael Skurlock start to peel just that little bit further away. Gaps out to about 3 or 4 tenths now. So very, very close racing.
As Gallagher makes the move down the inside as they go past Noddy Tompkins, I believe, who is just the first car to go a lap down. Noddy Tompkins just keeping up on the high side to let the leaders through, which is very kind of him, but that has meant Hamish Gallagher's managed to get up in front of his teammate Josh Micklemore. Meanwhile, Luke Trahair is making the move on Jay Russell as well. Luke Trahair started to go as well, and Hamish Gallagher and Luke Trahair have both been sitting back, protecting their tyres a little bit. And now, after 36 laps, they're starting to make their moves. As I said, watch out for those people who sort of sit back a little bit in the early stages of the race, don't seem like they're making much progress, and then all of a sudden it will come alive for them. And Hamish and Luke Trahair are those people that you need to watch out for. They're both very kind on their tyres. Luke Trahair is one of those tyre whisperers of Alex Albon levels, while Hamish Gallagher is just an Xfinity master. He is fantastic in this car, and you can see how quickly Hamish has caught to the back of Ryan Jones now, and is putting pressure on him.
Yeah, I think it's only a matter of time now. Hamish Gallagher has sort of said, it's my turn to start making a move through this field, and he's going to be putting Ryan Jones under enormous amounts of pressure. You see him right on the back of that M&M car. If I haven't been around the ANZCAR scene all that long, but am I correct in saying that Hamish Gallagher has the Taylor Swift livery on the side there?
Yes, indeed. He is the Taylor Swift fan, Mr. Hey Dizzle, as one of our colleagues would say. Dave Douglas looks like he's had to pull it into pit lane, possibly some damage, or he's decided to get his tyre stop done. So he had a little bit of a scrape against the wall just before coming in. So maybe his tyres just completely dropped off the cliff. So I'm just wondering if Douglas has just decided to get that done now and see what he can do in the race. So he's got fresh boots on.
Hamish Gallagher has made it past Ryan Jones as well. That Taylor Swift car has taken a big handful of M&Ms and gone on his merry way. So wonder if Taylor Swift does like M&Ms. Carl, what do you think?
I don't know, actually. That's probably something to ask Mr. Gallagher. I'm sure he would know, being the super fan of Taylor Swift that he is. Now, watch back there. Dave Douglas has got back out on track. He is a lap down, but look at how quickly he is passing people on those fresh tyres. He is on fresh rubber, And that is the difference that fresh rubber makes, ladies and gentlemen. As he gets a little bit sideways coming out there, crosses it a little bit. Dave uses VR as well, so he is absolutely laser focused on the front now. He's going to want to try and actually get up there and get on the lead lap again as they get past the 0.53 and the 0.15 as well. So Simon Hedischai just going down a lap as well. So I think a few people are going to see Dave Douglas's pace right now and they're going to think, maybe pitting and getting tyres is a good idea because those fresh tyres have definitely got an advantage. Look at him just driving around the cars. He is just taking whatever line he wants at the moment and just flying his way through the field and just absolutely conquering them. So what this is going to do is it's going to give him a huge advantage with the undercut. So he is going to get a huge gain from this one if it stays green.
Yeah, you can see the pace that he just made his way through. Like the rest of the cars were just a bunch of moving chicanes, just weaving in and out to make his way through. This part of the race really interests me, Carl, because we obviously have a lot of lap traffic getting involved now. It's so important to make sure that as a lap car that you're staying predictable.
Yeah, it is, as Skurlock gets passed by Gallagher. So Skurlock just got a little bit high in the corner. He got really tight in the corner there, it looks like, and Gallagher makes his move. This is where you can get a caution because the cars are going to start getting really tight in the corners because of that tyre wear. So what we mean by that is they just get a lot of understeer. The car's going to really not want to turn. It's almost like trying to steer a ship, basically. You really just can't get the car to do what you want it to do. So that means you have to be a little bit harder on the brakes. You're going to want to brake a little bit harder to get the nose turned in.
Yeah, it only takes that extra 2, 3, 4 kilometers per hour into the corner that, you know, the tires just can't hold on the way that you expect them to, and you drift up the track and contact's made, especially if you're, you know, trying to make your way past some lap traffic or you're trying to put a move on the car ahead. Very easy to do.
Indeed, as we can see here with the Pinnacle Esports entries, we're having a little bit of a battle with Greg Spencer and Nigel Patton as well. It's very easy to have a mistake in these stages because the tyre wear gets worse, and of course the more the tyres get worn, the quicker it is they get overheated as well. So there's less rubber on the actual carcass of the tyre, so that means they heat up quicker. So it's very easy to overheat those tyres and then have a big issue. Good battle going on down with Jamie Nankervis at the moment. Nathan Rollack, Greg Spencer, and you can see Dave Douglas just flying up to them. This is for position now for Dave Douglas, I believe. So he is just absolutely flying his way through as he gets up there. Oh wait, no, I think Dave's 2 laps down, sorry. Yeah, we'll do 2 laps down. So now Dave is a single lap down, but he's passing his way through the cars now, just chasing his way up the field. So he's still got to pass the leaders, get back on the lead lap proper, but it is going to be interesting. Meanwhile, up the front, we've got to move for position because Hamish Gallagher is in the lead of this race ahead of Dylan O'Shea.
Yeah, it just stalked him from that sort of lap 30 to the 35 onwards to where we are now, just slowly creeping closer and closer and closer. And as you said, clearly done a really good job of looking after his tyres, and he's sort of put the hammer down now, and you know, you can push on towards that sort of 80 plus lap mark where you think if we stay green, people will be starting to think about pitting maybe slightly earlier if they want to try and get an undercut.
Jaden Russell making the move on Luke Trahair now as well. Was Jaden Russell just saving his tyres? We've seen that before from him, just keeping the tyres alive, and now he's got back past Luke Trahair, so that's interesting to see. But yeah, Hamish Gallagher's done a great job of keeping those tyres alive and getting back into the battle. 99 laps remaining here for the Locked On lads. 150 here at Dover Speedway. Dover, of course, Delaware in the mid-Atlantic part of America. Oh, as O'Shea just clips the wall. I'm thinking O'Shea's starting to struggle with the car a bit now. He might have pushed a little bit too hard too soon, and he might just be struggling a little bit with that car getting really tight on the exit because he's having to slow down a lot on the exit of the corner and the mid-corner. Meanwhile, Ryan Jones is making a move on Michael Skurlock a bit further back. Jones getting down the inside of Skurley and makes the pass. Meanwhile, Jaden Russell's making a move on Josh Micklemore, and Josh Micklemore could lose 2 spots here as Trahair makes the move as well. They go close to each other across the start-finish line. Traher getting down the inside of Micklemore. Nothing Micklemore can do here as he gets hung up on that outside line. He's just going to lose speed and he drops in behind Traher.
Yeah, plenty of action at the moment. The tyres and the different levels that people have been able to keep them at certainly providing us with some excellent racing and some tough decisions for drivers to make around a track like this. You know, do you push that little bit harder early and get track position? But, you know, if you go for a long green stint like we've had so far here, you can find yourself going backwards at a rate of knots.
Can indeed, and as I said at the start of the broadcast, you just got to watch out for putting too much wear into that tyre and it going boom on you. It is very easy for it to pop, and there is no warning, of course. You sort of don't have... You might have your crew chief tell you that the tyre's getting to a stage where it's not looking good. You can always feel the car sort of feeling a bit funny, but generally, with my experience, you don't know the tyre's going to pop until it actually happens. Meanwhile, Matty Ray is on his charge from the back, as is tradition, as I think that's Jamie and Curtis coming in pit lane. It is indeed, but Matty Ray is on his way up 12 positions. In front of him is Ruben Phelps, up 11 positions. So they're both on a great charge from the back at the moment, moving their way up the field nicely.
Yeah, absolutely. Doing a really, really good job so far. As you said, Jamie Nankervis coming into the pits, probably going to put on some new boots, and we'll see him start to move his way through the field in a similar fashion that Dave Douglas did after his pit stop earlier.
Yeah, that's it. Dave Douglas is moving his way up nicely. Unfortunately, Greg Spencer's just got lapped, which means that he is now the first car a lap down. So if there is a caution, it is going to really hurt Douglas's race. Dave Douglas has just passed Matty Ray though, so he's up past Matty Ray, so he's up to P11 now in sort of position-wise. So he still has a lot of cars to pass to get back on that lead lap, but he is an absolute fly. He's still setting some very good lap times. Dave Douglas is still the fastest car out there by a good second over the rest of the field. So, you know, that's the difference those fresh tyres are making. But the rest of the drivers are going to want to keep it out there till lap 70 so they can just do one stop. Because if you stop under green, you're going to lose yourself 2 laps in pit lane. It is a very costly pit lane for a green tyre, green flag stop.
Yeah, it is a bit of a gamble, and, you know, a small track like this, you'd kind of think there is going to be some more cautions, but they are driving really, really well tonight, Carl. We've only just had the one so far in the 59 laps. Having said that, you know, I better go touch some wood somewhere or something, because I don't want to jinx us, but Nankervis are now starting to put those tyres to work and try and get back on this lead lap as quickly as he possibly can.
Yeah, this is the stage where a caution is most likely going to happen. Is you've got cars on really old tyres, you've got cars on fresh tyres, and that's when an accident can happen. Gallagher gets checked up behind. Who was that? That was Nathan Rollock, and that's given O'Shea the lead of the races. Rollock clips the wall. This is exactly what I was talking about. This is the stage where cars are on old tyres. They get really hard to handle. Those cars going down a lap, they can't really get offline. So they're sort of holding their position because if they get offline, they're just going to veer up into the wall and crash, kind of like what Rollock actually did there. And it really caught Hamish Gallagher out. It cost him a lot of time. And luckily, we didn't see an accident come from it. Meanwhile, Ryan Jones is making a move on a lapped car, Ryan Jones just moving past, I think that's Phil Otto. Yeah, it is indeed Phil Otto in the KR racing team. So moving his way up there and sort of he's catching the leaders, and with that little incident, that's really sort of narrowed the gap a little bit. But we were lucky to not see a caution there. I think it was really a good reaction time from Hamish Gallagher because he sort of saw that one coming and was quick on the brakes and managed to get that car turned down before he could clip the back of Rollock and actually cause a bit more of a problem as they're 3 wide as they go down underneath Fenley, and the 20 there was it, or the 30, the 90 of Patton, who is battling with Fenley at the moment. These guys are battling side by side as the leaders are coming up to lap them. And as I said, this is the crucial time. This is where a caution is probably going to happen because the people are really racing hard on old tyres. The tyres are getting very, very tight. They're getting very hard to control. and then you've got people out there on fresh tyres who are going to go absolutely whizzing past them. They're going to have great closing speed, but that's when an accident can easily happen. Daniel Hederscheid has come into pit lane, one of the sort of guys in the top 10. So he's the first of the top 10 to come into pit lane to take the fresh tyres. So it'll be interesting to see where he comes out in regards to Dave Douglas.
Yeah, and interesting as well, you know, this is lap 65, so a little bit short of what we expect the critical lap to be. So, you know, that means he might have to come in for another pit stop later down the track as opposed to doing a one stop.
Yeah, he might be a bit tight on fuel towards the end with that now, so that could be a problem. Of course, you can lift and coast a little bit. You can clutch it a little bit as you're going along, just to save on that fuel. As up at the front, we've got to move for position once again as O'Shea runs wide. Gallagher gets underneath him. It's going to be a drag race as O'Shea just gets so close to the wall. O'Shea manages to keep in position, but Gallagher is absolutely pressing on as he runs wide, and this is going to give Ryan Jones the opportunity to make a bit of an attack on the lead.
Yeah, exactly, and he's been creeping up a little bit here, a little bit there, each lap, Ryan Jones so far. So can he get himself onto the back of Hamish Gallagher, and then can he start to push these guys ahead and maybe make a move on his own? I guess we'll find out very, very soon as Hamish Gallagher just pokes his head down the inside to have a look.
Yeah, he's taking a bit of a peek there, seeing what he can find out. So it's just seeing, just exploratory sort of positions at the moment, a little bit of a probing attack, you can say. But just getting an idea is, O'Shea up into the wall, and that's going to give Gallagher the chance. Will Ryan Jones make the pounce as well? Doesn't quite have the pace to get there. O'Shea gets underneath Gallagher, I should say. Tries to get position back, but can't do it. Gallagher's got the lead again. Costly mistake there from O'Shea.
Yeah, and that's brought Ryan Jones right up onto the back of this fight now. It's really a group of three now as opposed to just a group of two. So Ryan licking his lips for sure. So we see Dave Douglas still trucking along, still a lap down, but is moving his way up this field as best he can.
Yeah, and Hamish Gallagher's taking a little bit of a kind of line for his tyres at the moment. He's just taking that sort of wide apex in the middle, not quite cutting the low line quite as much. So he's trying to save his tyres a little bit more. But just look behind. Luke Trahere is really catching on this group. So I'd watch out for Luke in the latter stages of the stint because he's usually really good on his tyres. And again, he is catching that lead group. Dave Douglas in the meanwhile, he's just getting up to... where is he at the moment on the track? He's just getting up to Michael Skurlock, so he has caught Michael Skurlock now, so he is really trucking along, and he's very close to getting back to the lead lap. Of course, he just wants to see this go green for as long as possible. If that caution flag comes out, then his night is almost ruined. Luke Trahere has come into the pits, so Luke Trahere has decided it is pit time. Lap 72, and he has come into pit lane.
Yeah, so obviously he's decided he can get home from here. It'll be a bit of a watch to see how this shakes out for Daniel Hederscheid. As we said, can he make that extra 5 laps up that we assume would be the critical lap moment? And it'll be interesting to see now, do the leaders or anyone else that are still on the lead lap start to think the same as Luke Trahere and get some fresh set of tyres?
Yeah, I think they're going to have to think about covering him off. As you can see, Hederscheid there just getting past, getting one of those laps back now. Of course, 2 laps down, you lose 2 laps in pit lane here. So Hederscheid has moved up, and this is going to give him effective track position. He is quite a way off Dave Douglas though. So Dave Douglas has got a really good jump, but he has to stop again. So what he's going to hope for is a late caution. Michael Skurlock coming down pit lane now. He's covering off Luke Trahere, and I think we're going to see some more cars coming in pit lane as O'Shea makes an absolute mess of coming in pit lane. He catches the yellow tubs at the end of pit lane and spins the car around. And will that be an unsafe entry? Will that get him a penalty as well? As he's got enough penalty as it is. Look at this, he just doesn't get it turned down enough, catches the entry, a lot of damage to the front, and that might also end up with a bit of a penalty for him as well. So he might get a little bit of a hold penalty as well.
Yeah, that is going to make it really tough for him now. It'll be interesting to see how long this pit stop lasts, but that is not what you want to do on the way into the pits, that's for sure, as we take a look on board. Is that closely, I think? Yeah.
Yeah.
In the 75.
Yeah, just sitting behind our leader at the moment, Hamish Gallagher, who is keeping it out there. So Gallagher's deciding to go for the longer run here. He's going to try and go for fresher tyres towards the end of the race. This is going to cost him positions in the short term, but if we get a green flag race, then fresher tyres towards the end of the run will be better. Matty Ray in pit lane, Jaden Russell in pit lane as well. So quite a few people coming in for their stops.
Yeah, and the way that Hamish looked after his tyres on this first stint, I imagine having much fresher tyres than others probably towards the end of the race is going to be a big plus for him.
Is indeed, as Michael Scullop works his way past Josh Micklemore as he's working his way back up through the field and getting back up there.
Dylan O'Shea's pit stop was 15.1 seconds, so pretty much on par with everyone else in the field. Yeah. So obviously no penalty there, and obviously not too much damage to fix up either. So I think he might have got away with that one, as best as he possibly could.
Yeah, it's always shocking when you get a penalty on top of it, because it's like a double penalty situation. Josh Micklemore in pit lane, as well as Jackson closely. Koch, Patton and Rollock as well, all of them coming down pit road. So it is just Gallagher, Jones, Williams out at the moment. Norman Clark's stuck it out there. Maddie Hunter's stayed out as well. So 5 cars are sticking it out there at the moment. Maddie Hunter did stop for that first caution, and so has a little bit of extra fuel as Gallagher's coming in pit lane.
Bill Otto also hasn't pitted according to my timing, but he is a lap down, so interesting to see if the long stint helps him out later in the race.
Yeah, he's going to hope that he can make that one pay off in the latter stages. He's just going to keep it out there for as long as possible. He'll gain a few positions as well as the leaders come in. And if there's caution, it will make him incredibly happy as well. Stevie Dubb at the moment up in P2, as he's stuck it out there and not pitted yet. But it is Ryan Jones in the lead of the race. He's going to keep it out there as long as possible. He's definitely trying to save a little bit of fuel, but he's going to be getting to that point where the tank's starting to run a little bit dry. It was around about lap 80 for a green flag run, I was told. And it sounds like he is clutching it a little bit as Michael Scullop gets underneath Ryan Jones right now on fresh tyres, getting back a lap, gets past him as they keep on trucking around. So Ryan Jones taking it to the absolute limits on fuel, as well as Stephen Williams. Matty Hunter, of course, he came in and got a little bit more fuel than the rest of them. So he is very much hoping for a caution flag to get him. If a caution flag came out now, it would be perfect for him. Dave Douglas is now the first car that is a lap down as well.
Luke Harris just got past him. Sorry, Carl.
That's all right. Luke Trehette has just got past him, so yeah. Just literally just as I was about to say that one. Ryan Jones coming in pit lane.
Yeah, I was just about to say, I think we're going to see Ryan Jones come into pit lane. It'd be interesting to see if Stephen Williams can stick out a lap longer. It looks like he is going to. Yeah, we're about to find out.
Yeah, indeed, and he does.
I just want to, Carl, I just want to get your thoughts on Dylan O'Shea with that pit entry. Has actually come out well ahead of Hamish Gallagher.
Yes, because he came in earlier. So he will have had, with those fresh tyres, that's the difference it makes. It's a big difference. Even though he had that big moment and he lost a lot of time, his time through pit road was only about 5 seconds slower than the rest of the field. So he lost about 5 seconds coming through pit lane with that accident. But remember, those fresh tyres, they are about 3 seconds a lap faster than those guys that were out there, so it is going to be costly for him. He's still going to lose some positions from that, but at the moment it's paid off for him. But he will effectively lose a couple of spots as it goes through. He lost a lot of his advantage that he would have had.
as Stephen Williams did come into pit, and he's going to be making his way out of the pit lane in just a moment. Looks like he's going to filter himself back down the field. As Luke Traher is our current race leader, he's got about a, what do we got there, 4-ish second gap back to Dylan O'Shea. He'll be trying to chase him down.
Remember, Luke came in, he came in just a couple of laps before Dylan O'Shea. So he stopped about 3 laps before O'Shea. So the tyres, there's not a huge difference on those tyres. So you won't see the closing speed. And that's where O'Shea, it really cost O'Shea. I think if O'Shea didn't have that accident, he would have come out in front of Traher. With that accident, he's come out behind Traher. So that's the cost of that little mistake in pit lane. And it has really helped Luke Traher out. Last lap sort of times, Traher was actually faster than O'Shea. So, you know, the tyre-wise, they're not that far off each other. The big one is going to be Hamish Gallagher, though. His tyres are super fresh. His tyres have only done 8 laps, whereas his nearest rival is Jaden Russell, who's done 13 laps. So Hamish Gallagher is going to be carving his way through the field, which he does past Hedershine. He's just going to sail his way up through the field now and really catch to these guys quickly.
Yeah, you can see the 17 laps difference between Gallagher and Hedershine's tyres there just made it really easy. So look for him to be carving his way through, as you said, and making his way up to Jaden Russell, Dylan O'Shea and Luke Traher as quick as he possibly can.
And the same goes, of course, for Ryan Jones in the lovely M&M flavoured car. He will have very fresh tyres, so he's going to be going very quick out there. But he's got quite a few more cars to pass now as well, so he's got to pass a fair few cars, which can be difficult because the tyre wear is, you know, it's noticeable, but it's sort of to a point where they can still defend a bit. So he could find himself getting caught in a position where if he struggles to pass a few people, he might wear his tyres a little bit quicker. So it's not over yet, and there's still a long way to go in this race, of course. We've still got 58 laps of the Dover 150, brought to you by Locked On Lads, Locked On Lads TV, Locked On Lads podcast as well, where you can get all the news and results and general chit-chat from all 3 of us, usually.
Absolutely. So we're getting into almost the last third of the race here, but, you know, approaching the 100-lap mark. We've got, what is it, say 15 cars. Oops.
Just jumping up, O'Shea getting passed by Hamish Gallagher now. So Hamish Gallagher absolutely slicing his way through the field. But you can see the difference it's made with that overcut advantage. He has really got so much more pace. And Jaden Russell as well has got a similar situation. J. Russ is absolutely catching O'Shea. And maybe that damage was a little bit worse than we suspected as well. So he could have had a bit of damage and just chosen not to fix it.
Absolutely. It's looking like we have around 15 cars still in the lead lap. So as we approach this 2/3 mark and getting into the last third of the race, what strategies involved and what problems could a safety car in this last third of the race throw up?
Well, first of all, it costs you $1 in the old safety car jar. But if the pace car comes out, it's going to really hurt. As we get free wide action, it's going to really hurt some of those guys that just did some slightly different strategies. Dave Douglas is going to be hoping for a pace. He's going to hope for the caution. Dave Douglas wants a caution to come out. He needs a caution to come out. It would really hurt Ryan Jones, for instance, who is currently trying to get past Daniel Hedershide, who's got Norman Clark up there with him, as Norman Clark is a lap down, but he's on that low line as Ryan Jones goes through them. He squeezes it through. He's going to try, as gets past Hedershide and moves it up. Ryan Jones is going to go up and underneath Norman Clark and slides it through as he makes his way up. But it will really hurt Ryan Jones's strategy. So a late caution will hurt the guys that sort of are on the sort of slightly alternate strategies. It would probably help Luke Traher out a little bit, although Luke does have a nice lead at the moment of 3.5 seconds. And pace-wise, it's last lap. Hamish Gallagher set a 24.3. Luke was a 24.7. So Hamish is going to be catching Luke at a fast rate of knots, but those tyres will plateau a little bit soon, so it's not going to be as crucial as it is. Dave Douglas in pit lane though.
I did just clock that I did do the Cardinal safety car pace cast in, so I do apologise for that. I will donate $1 to Carl's GoFundMe for rehabilitating road drivers. I apologise.
Dave Douglas crossing it up as he came in pit lane. Did he slow it down in time? That is the question. But this is exactly what Dave did not want. He gambled with that coming in early and hoping that a caution would come out, but it did not come for him. So that's going to affect him. Just looking through the field, the people that are probably going to be sweating a little bit. Jamie Nankervis is going to be in a little bit of trouble with fuel, I think. So Jamie Nankervis is going to have to stop again, while everybody else should be pretty much okay for the rest of the race. Daniel
Hedgehold's the other one, yeah.
Yeah, he's very much on the bubble, so he might be able to just make it, but he's going to have to do a lot of fuel saving, which I think he has been, because he's not been really on the pace. Even with those fresh tyres, he was slightly off the pace.
Yeah, we can see Hamish Gallagher pretty consistently 4 or 5 tenths of a second quicker than Luke Traher. That gap right down to 2.1-ish seconds, 2 seconds now. So we can sort of expect maybe a move for the lead in the next, 4 or 5 laps.
Yes. It's going to be coming. It's going to be coming soon. One thing that we did go unnoticed, though, we had a bit of a moment with Jaden Russell, unfortunately. Jaden got caught out just coming off of turn 2, I think it was. No, he actually got caught out going into turn 1 and blew his engine. Jaden Russell's engine blowing, so he is out of this race. So Jaden Russell out of the race early, unfortunately.
Yeah, that is not what you want. Very easy to do in these cars. If you get your engine wrong, sometimes it can overheat. Could be from contact. A few different ways that the engine can go in these.
Yeah, any damage to the front, and if you get damage to the radiator, then it gets hot, and then it goes poppity pop. So it's never what you want to have happen, and it is always painful when it does. He actually got very lucky because there were a couple of people right beside him when the engine blew, and that could have been a big accident if it had happened. Meanwhile, O'Shea is under pressure from Jones. Right now, Jones going down the inside of O'Shea, and he is going to slide his way down there and make that move. And again, that just shows how costly that mistake was in pit lane for O'Shea, because Jones wouldn't have caught him nearly as quick if he had got through there without having that little bit of contact with the wall. So yeah, it's that sort of, it could have been much worse. So good recovery, but it is unfortunate because he was having a stellar race up until that point.
And Hamish Gallagher is going to be looking to make a move on Luke Traher for the lead very soon. He's right up onto the back of him now, just trying to fight their way through some lap traffic, but the move for the lead is definitely on.
It is, and Hamish was really trying to box Luke in there behind Tristan Koch. Really tried his best to actually box him in there to get him stuck up on that high line. Couldn't quite get underneath Luke to sort of put him in that position. But you got to say, it's more of a when rather than an if at the moment, because Hamish has got a lot more pace than Luke at this stage. But Luke is no slouch. He's pretty good at the old defensive game in the Playdown sponsored machine. And he will be doing his best in the Nightcall Racing entry to defend against Hamish Gallagher. But it is kind of a one-sided battle. And Gallagher goes down, they make contact! Gallagher manages to save it! Very late turn down there for Traher. That was very close there to Hamish Gallagher going out of this race. So good save there.
Yeah, that wouldn't have taken much to go wrong there. It was very tight, but well done to both drivers. No harm, no fault. So we continue on racing, 40 laps to go.
Yeah, the one thing it will have done is got the odd heartbeat racing for both of them. Definitely get a spike of blood pressure there. And of course, with Hamish, it will be that thing of, you just got to be careful in a situation like that, not to let the red mist descend on you, not to get angry, and just relax, calm down, and just get back into the swing of things.
Absolutely. We've got looks like the top 10 or so cars left on the lead lap here. So things starting to get pretty tense up front as Hamish Gallagher has put the move on Luke Traher, and it's looking like he's going to get the job done. Might take a couple of extra turns than you'd hope, but it looks like Hamish Gallagher is going to go through into the lead with 39 laps to go.
Beautiful job there indeed. So yeah, really nicely done. Stevie Dubb's kind of worked out well for him. He's done pretty well getting up into the top 10. So he's, with that sort of late stop, he's set himself up nice for the end of this race. He's going to be catching quite a few people on older tyres. So watch Stevie Dubb. He's going to be moving up the field, I'd say. And we could see him in a good finishing position at the end of this race. And keep an eye for Ryan Jones as well, because he's going to be catching Luke Traher as well. There's still a good gap. There's about 7 seconds between themselves. But if Luke starts dropping off pace, Ryan could possibly do this one.
Absolutely. Stephen Williams was actually fastest out of the top 10 on the lap prior, so he's definitely got some pace and will be looking to move his way up a little bit further up in this leaderboard for sure.
Yeah, Dave Douglas, the fastest car out there at the moment, of course, because he has got the freshest tyres of them all, but he is down 2 laps at the moment, so he is going to be trying his best to get up to a relatively decent finishing position. He's going to hope for a good finish tonight.
Absolutely. It's almost mirror on the wall, give me the freshest tyres of them all for Dave Douglas tonight. He's had them for quite a bit of the race compared to everyone else on that alternate strategy. Hasn't quite worked out, but at least he's definitely had a lot of fun making lots of moves. That's
it. It gives him something to do. Of course, he would prefer to be leading the race and and possibly taking a victory. But he will at least be having some fun out there at the moment. O'Shea dropping back a little bit. He's got a good gap between himself and Skurlock though. Skurlock though, he's starting to get under pressure from Josh Micklemore. So watch out for that fight. There's also a battle between Ruben Phelps and Daniel Hederscheid as well. Hederscheid, of course, we a bit unsure of fuel-wise, so I don't know if he's going to be able to take it to Rubes. That might not be something that he can do. Meanwhile, Matty Ray is getting attacked by Stevie Dubb. Stevie Dubb gets past Matty Ray, gets past him for P9 as Stevie Dubb moves up the lead, and you can see Hamish Gallagher just behind him, lapping the top 10. So Hamish Gallagher is starting to lap the top 10. So there are very few cars on the lead lap down.
Yeah, absolutely. That Luke Traher is just trying to hold on the best he can to the back of Hamish Gallagher, but he's starting to slowly drop back. He's still got 7.5 seconds back to Ryan Jones at the moment, and they're lapping at similar paces. In fact, Ryan Jones was only a 10th quicker on the last lap, so if he's only a 10th quicker, it's not going to be enough to get the job done by the end of this race, but it'll be interesting to see in this sort of last 10 laps how much closer they can get.
Yeah, that's it. It sort of tried to take it to the extreme with the strategies and tried a slightly different one. Of course, coming in a bit later, getting those fresher tyres, but they've plateaued a little bit for him, and it didn't quite have enough to get up there with Traher and Gallagher as he would have wanted to. But if a caution flag flies, then he's going to be right up there. So that's the other thing as well. As we say, a late caution here could really mix things up and really change things around for the rest of this race. And it's getting to that stage where drivers are going to be on very old tyres. They're going to be starting to feel their arms a little bit, their legs are going to be feeling a little bit weaker. It's a lot of effort to drive around these tracks. You know, even though you're only turning left most of the time, it's still a lot that goes through the body, and it really takes it out of you. And the mental aspect as well, it's very easy to lose concentration and find yourself up in the wall, and then all of a sudden having a big accident, and then that pace car coming out on track.
Especially with the field so spread out like they are at the moment, you know, you're constantly coming up to lapped cars or having cars that are on older tyres come back towards you as well, so you really do need to be on your game the whole time.
Yeah, that's it. You're always looking. So you've got one eye on your mirrors and one eye in front of you almost. And then, of course, you're listening to your spotter as well. And it is just a constant barrage on the sensors. Ryan Jones setting some decent pace, but he's still not quite able to get it up there to catch the top two. Although Luke Traher is now getting a bit of a charge on Hamish Gallagher. He sort of let his tyres cool off a little bit, and now he's going on the attack for the lead. So it is a battle for the lead once more between Gallagher and Traher, and this could slow them down, and this is exactly what could favour Ryan Jones. If these two start battling, they're going to slow each other down, and this could be the opportunity for Ryan Jones to get up towards the front and possibly fight it out for a win.
Yeah, it has crept underneath that 7-second mark now between Jones and Traher, so it is eking his way closer and closer. A couple of tenths here, 3 tenths on the last lap, but yeah, this battle between Gallagher and Traher has really started to pick up. It was almost looking like Traher was going to slowly drop off the back of Gallagher, but he's managed to, like you said, cool off those tyres and maybe go for one final push.
He has, and they're just behind Stevie Dubb at the moment. Now, he is the last car on the lead lap. He has also got some very fresh tyres. Stevie Williams on the freshest tyres of everybody out there. So he's actually got some fresh tyres, so that means he's got pace. He might be, you know, about to go down a lap, but he doesn't want to do that either, just in case that caution flag flies. So he's going to be racing to keep this position, and this again is going to slow this group down a little bit. There is a lot of traffic between Jones and Traher as well, so that's going to factor into things too. So there are so many things that could come into play here. I think Stevie Dubb has actually just moved up out of the way of the leaders because he could see this battle heating up. So he's just moved out past and just given Hamish a little bit of a breather. Or Hamish.
Definitely would have liked that move there by Stevie Dubb, giving him a little bit of breathing space from Luke Traher, as you said. Interesting, I'm just having a look at Daniel Heddershide's fuel numbers here. Now we saw, what did we see Stevie Dubb go about 83, 84 laps? And currently Heddershide's on to his 64th lap on this stint with 22 to go. So 64 plus 22 is 86. It's going to be very, very tight.
And remember, they had a caution flag in there as well, so they had some time under the pace car where they could save a bit of fuel. So it'd be interesting to... Might just ride on board with Daniel Heddershide for a moment, and just going to be listening and seeing if he's lifting and coasting anywhere. And we get a great view of the battle of the lead as well from this position as well. But definitely not clutching it, so he's not saving fuel at the moment. So does not sound like he's saving any fuel. So he's either saved fuel earlier on in the stint and he's doing okay, or he is he's going to have to pit again. So it's an either-or situation, but he's got Stevie Dubb all over the back of him now. Stevie Williams all over the back of him like a rash, and he is going to be trying to get past Heddershide up into P8, and of course be that first car that's a lap down as well. That's the crucial thing for him at the moment. He wants to be the first car a lap down, just in case that caution flag does fly, then he can get that lucky dog.
Yeah, that's it. It can really turn your race around, just being that one position. It gives you something to really battle for, even though you may be a lap down. Making sure you get in that lucky dog position can give you a chance at, making your way back through the field if something does happen.
Leaders catching up to Ruben Phelps, now up into P7. Ruben Phelps having a good run tonight. He is up 15 positions, most positions gained so far in the race. And Ruben's just easing out a little bit, just not making it too easy for the leaders, and boxes Traher in a little bit there. Traher was trying to get up and really harass Ruben Phelps, trying his best to get past Hamish. He's really pushing Gallagher at the moment. And This battle up the front is really starting to get intense. Strahan gets a good run down the inside right here. The 43 down the inside of the 13. This is going to mean Hamish is going to have to ease off. They're going to loosen up. They're going to get tight. Hamish manages to hold it somehow on that high line. How did Gallagher do that? That was impressive driving. He managed to hold it on that high line somehow and keep ahead of Traher. That was great racing by both drivers, and Daniel Heddershide has indeed pitted.
He needed all that 9 laps worth of extra grip that he has on Luke Traher there to make sure he kept that one off the wall. As you see, Daniel Heddershide now getting over lapped by the leaders as he strolls down pit lane for the second time tonight.
Yeah, that really was costly, and again, Heddershide really would have loved to have seen a caution flag fly. Just did not come out for him in the right time. So far, only for one caution tonight, which is great to see. We love seeing green racing. That's important. A little bit further back, though, we've got Stevie Dubb making a move on Ruben Phelps. So, Stevie Dubb, the man on the freshest tyres in the top of the pack, is making a move on Ruben Phelps now. So we saw Steve Williams stay out for a long time. He stayed out the longest of anybody. It cost him a bit of time, but those fresher tyres towards the end of the race have really paid off. He's managed to get him a good amount of positions as he moves up into 7th position and working his way up through the field. So that's paid off nicely for him. The strategy is it's come out in his favour. He qualified around P8 and now he's in P7, so he's gained 1 position in the race, although he's had to do a lot of overtaking to get back there.
Yeah, and he's got about 5.5 seconds to try and make up to get to Michael Skurlock, which might be a task too tall. Do we think Luke Traher has one more final go? Does he have enough in those tyres to have one more final go at Hamish Gallagher? Obviously, that was a really close push for the lead a few laps back. What does he have to do to try and set this move up over the last 12 laps, 13 laps of this race?
So he's going to just ease off a little bit. He's just going to try and cool the tyres down a little bit. He doesn't want to lose too much time. He doesn't want to drop below around about half a second, I'd say. So he's just going to keep relatively close to Hamish, but he's not going to push too hard. He's just going to drive the car gently through the corners, just be nice and gentle on the car, and then he's going to go back for the attack, I reckon. He's going to try for one last assault, and he's probably going to do it when they catch up to a couple of lapped cars. So he's waiting for his moment to pounce as they get up to a pack, and that pack is coming up very shortly. So as they get past the pinnacle car of Nigel Patton, there is a huge gaggle of cars we can see here that they're getting up to, and this is going to be Traher's opportunity, and you can see Traher's closed the gap now. He's starting to get up onto the rear spoiler of Hamish Gallagher, and he is going to try and make the move through the traffic. He's going to want to try and force Hamish into an unsuitable position, so he's going to try and box Gallagher in behind one of those lapped cars and see if he can make the move that way.
Yeah, you do not want to end up with lap cars in between you and the guy you're chasing. It just makes life much more difficult, as we see Hamish Gallagher making the move to pick off the first of this little gaggle of cars that we could see.
And there is a big field of them, and they are fighting at the moment as they get underneath Matt Hunter, and you can see there is a car on the low line, and that's given Traher the opportunity. Traher goes up on the high side. He's going to try and box him in. The car goes high to let Gallagher past, and that means it's not going to work for Traher, but Traher might be able to get a run off the corner here. Traher's going to try for the run off the corner now, see if he can get a run into turn 1 and maybe make that late lunge. He's just got to try and get his nose underneath the Mitch Motorsport entry. It is a great battle going on here for the lead of the race.
Yeah, and with those cars being overtaken, that leaves us with just 5 cars on the lead lap. Hamish Gallagher, Luke Traher, Ryan Jones, Dylan O'Shea and Josh Micklemore, the last cars on the lead lap, as we saw Michael Skurlock just go a lap down there.
Yeah, Josh Micklemore's not far from being the next car lapped, so it is getting very, very close indeed to only 4 cars on the lead lap. And this is what happens on these short tracks. It gets very, very close very quickly. Brett Campbell out there, he's on some very fresh tyres, so that's why he's keeping up with the leaders at the moment. So that car just behind Luke Traher. So he's keeping up with the leaders at the moment just on fresh rubber. And he sort of might think about possibly overtaking them because he's going to be faster than them. But he also is going to be thinking, oh, I don't really want to cause a issue for the leaders of this race because he is quite a few laps down, and he's only got one car to really worry about, and that's Daniel Hedersheed, who is out of the race, unfortunately.
Yeah, I was just about to say, when you mentioned fresh tyres and people being on fresh tyres, I looked to my timing to see how Daniel Hedersheid had gone, and yeah, unfortunately, it looks like he's parked it up for the day.
And Hamish Gallagher using that slight sort of triangular sort of method, just taking the car out into the middle of the track and then coming it back down. He's sort of been doing this all race long, and it's really worked well for keeping those tyres alive, as Michael Skurlock's had to pit. Michael Skurlock coming in pit lane. Are they a little bit close on fuel, those guys that pitted early? Will we see Dylan O'Shea have to pit? Will we see Luke Trehare having to pit?
Yeah, this is really interesting to see Skurlock pitting there with just the 3.5, 4 laps to go. So that's going to send him way down the order, unfortunately.
He went in with Ruben Phelps as well.
Ruben Phelps in as well. So this is not over. Does Trehare have the fuel to the end of the race? That's the question now, because Trehare sort of came in a similar time. So this is really making it easier. As they get past, as they get past Josh Mickelmore, I should say. We know Hamish Gallagher's going to be safe on fuel unless he underfueled it. But will Trehare have the fuel for it? Oh, gets very close to Phil Otto there on the exit of the corner. He is really pushing it. We've got 1.5 laps remaining. It is getting to the very, very tight end of the race now. This is getting interesting. This has made it very, very interesting, as the white flag will soon be coming out on the Locked On Lads Dover 150.
Yeah, last lap here, Carl. Take us home.
It is Hamish Gallagher in the lead. Does Trehare have the fuel to make it home? That's going to be the question. It looks like he does, because he is really pushing it. He is trying his best to put the pressure on Gallagher. But Gallagher is absolutely flying and doing what he needs to do, doing what he does best in an Xfinity car, and that is winning the race. It is going to be Hamish Gallagher for Mitch Motorsport taking the victory ahead of Luke Trehare, and then coming home in third position will be Ryan Jones, taking a really good run, having a really good run on those tyres, keeping them alive in the early stages and taking them in a nice long time. Dylan O'Shea comes home after making that mistake in pit lane, cost him a lot of time and cost him possibly a position on the podium in fourth position. Then it's Josh Mickelmore in fifth, sixth for Stevie Dubb in the end. That worked out very well for him. Matty Ray, the biggest gainer of the night with 17 positions gained. Norman Clark in eighth, ninth for Paul Jackson, and Matt Hunter in P10, 11 positions gained.
Yeah, as we see the donuts of the Taylor Swift mobile, the silver Diet Coke shining through the smoke. Very, very happy with that drive. It really, really was a classy drive by Hamish Gallagher. You know, he stuck back in those first 20, 25 laps, made his move, got to the front, and then made it very, very difficult for Luke Trehare for the rest of the race.
Yeah, really, really good job. And, you know, again, starting from P7, Hamish Gallagher didn't have the best qualifying tonight, but absolutely worked that race into perfection. So let's go through the results again properly. So Hamish Gallagher does take the victory. Luke Trehare second. Ryan Jones in third position. Fourth for Dylan O'Shea. Josh Mickelmore in fifth. Sixth for Steve Williams. Matty Ray in seventh. Eighth for Norman Clark. Paul Jackson in ninth. And 10th for Matty Hunter. Then we roll over the page, and it is Dave Douglas who comes home 11th. That double pit stop strategy ended up not too badly for him. He started in 12th, finished in 11th, so he did gain a position in the race. So that could have been much worse for him. Wesley Closey comes home in P12. Good finish for Closey, one of the rookies of the season. Michael Skurlock in 13th in the end. Phil Otto 14th. Ruben Phelps home in 15th, 16th for Nathan Rollock, Jamie Nankervis 17th, 18th for Brad Finley, Koch in 19th, Campbell 20th. As we roll over the page, 21st is Patton, Hedersheid 22nd, that's Daniel Hedersheid, Jaden Russell in 23rd, Greg Spencer 24th, Simon Hedersheid in 25th, 26th for Noddy Tompkins, Greg Georgeson in 27th position, and Kai Turner did not start the race. So, Braden, how did you find your first time up in the commentary booth here for ANZCAR and on an oval, nonetheless?
Yeah, it was definitely something different. I really enjoyed the racing. It was good to watch. I feel like we made a good call with Hedeshide's pitch strategy. So it's always nice as a commentator when you pick something up and it comes into fruition. Not so nice for Hedeshide, obviously, but, it made me feel like I actually know something. I did race 2 races at Talladega today, so, I'm basically an oval genius.
Oval specialist now, that's it. Gaining his oval license, his oval specialty. Okie dokie. So let us grab up our 3rd place finisher, Mr. Ryan Jones, up into the broadcast booth. There we go. Bringing Mr. Ryan Jones up for a very strong, very good P3 finish tonight. Ryan, welcome to the booth, mate. It's been a while, but it's always a pleasure to have you back up here.
It's been a minute, hasn't it? I feel like I've been running at the front, but it's not been going my way, so good to finally get back up on the podium.
It is indeed. Look, it was a great run from you tonight. A really good, strong first stint that really helped your second stint out.
Yeah, not sure what I did differently to the last 2 years, but for some reason my tyres didn't explode on lap 4, and yeah, we held on. I figured on that first stint, if I just go as long as I can, because I wasn't sure if it was going to happen again in the second stint, me actually saving my tyres. So I went to lap, 84, and I was a lap away from pitting, and my right front actually popped. So I lost about 1.5 seconds, 2 seconds there, but other than that, it's pretty much a perfect race for me, I think.
It feels like we're in some kind of commentary mix-up here, Ryan, with me being in the commentary booth commentating on one of your podiums. Not that I get a lot of them, but how hard was it to try and catch Traher towards the end there? We thought maybe you might be able to start making some progress in the back end of that stint with the nicer tyres, but couldn't quite pick up the time.
Yeah, it was a little frustrating. Traher did a brilliant job to hold onto his rubber with how early he pitted. I was running the same times as Traher and Gallagher, but somewhere in that pit sequence I lost 8 seconds, and when you're running the same pace as someone, it's not enough to catch them.
Absolutely, yeah, that definitely makes it difficult.
Yeah, that does really hurt it. We saw some good passes tonight as well. You had some good racing out there, and we saw a lot of green flag racing as well, which we were sort of, you never know what you're going to get at Dover. But tonight, luckily, we had a nice lot of green flag racing out there, and we had a lot of racing as well on track.
Yeah, I was actually quite surprised. Dover's a pretty tricky track to get right. Probably the smaller field size helped a bit tonight. There's only, 26 cars out there. But, I thought when the tyres started to wear off that we might get some yellows. The cars were starting to really slide out of the corners. But everyone did a really good job tonight, just to one incident. I saw a couple accidents that should have brought out a yellow but didn't. So we can thank the racing gods a little bit. But, good to get a good green flag run in and to actually do well on it.
Yeah, there was a moment where I think it was Jay Russ's engine blew, and it was touch and go for a caution flag coming out. Thought it might do, but it didn't in the end. For, I guess, luckily for you, almost. Were you hoping for a caution at the end there to give you the chance to make a bit of a rundown, or were you just happy with P3?
I was happy either way. It would have been nice to have a caution because, as I said, I was running the same pace as them, and on the short run, I feel like I would have had something for them. But, I'm happy with P3 tonight. Drove a faultless race. Didn't touch the wall once, which is also probably a first in a long, long time. So, good run after getting a bit robbed last week.
Yeah, but congratulations on the podium tonight, P3. And before I let you go, the usual thing of love and shout out to sponsors.
Big shout out to M&M's for coming on board now.
Oh, look, you are the tastiest car out there.
I'm going to ignore that comment. Shout out to the mum, always watching on. Lucky charm when it goes my way, the unlucky charm when it goes wrong. But cheers, probably not the most exciting race for someone to watch tonight, but strategy-wise, pretty interesting.
Look, congratulations. I hope your mum's doing well, and hopefully we'll get you back in here soon with a couple more positions further up the grid.
Cheers, mate. Yeah, we're winning tomorrow night at Dagger if I make it in.
See you later on.
So yeah.
Okie dokie. Next up, we will grab the second place finisher for Nightcrawler Racing, Mr. Luke Traher. Luke Traher, welcome back to the broadcast booth. Always a pleasure to have you up here. Congratulations on a P2 finish on some very old tyres.
Yeah, thanks, Carl. Hamish was asking me in the green room what the secret is, and I was brutally honest, and I said I don't know, because I'm not normally much chop at this track. I've always said it, like, for some reason it's just been an Achilles heel track. I'm not saying I have a lot of great tracks, but this has been one where normally, even though I've tried to nurse the tyres, they just fall off, and I'm asking everyone else what the secret is. So I don't know, whatever I did tonight in terms of hanging on to them, I tried to be careful, and it just sort of worked. So yeah, good to get the P2. It was fun racing with Hamish in the end there. I mean, he was always going to get that P1. He knows what to do once he gets up front. So yeah, well done to Hamish. It was a good race, and pretty much mostly green. So that was good to see.
We saw with about 15 laps to go, you had a real big go at Hamish and sort of almost got the job done. Was that sort of your last real chance, or did you still have something in the tank maybe for those last few laps?
Yeah, I said that before to the other guys as well. Like, I had a nip at him, as you saw, and I really needed to make it stick, because I felt like I had a bit of pace on him, and I thought his tyres were coming off a little bit more than mine. And once I sort of had that go and I couldn't get it done, and then I pulled back in behind him, I think I felt the tyres really sort of heat up. I'm like, nah, it's got to be him sort of making a mistake. And I thought I'd save a little bit more and try and have a little go at the end. But I mean, if you've got someone as good as Hamish and you're on similar tyres, like, it's got to be him making a mistake. I wasn't going to pass him on just, you know, sheer tyres and sheer pace. He knows how to position the car, and he knows how to sort of, you know, keep the tyres where they sort of need to be. But yeah, we had a little crack towards the end. That last lap on turn 4, like, I had to pull up, like I was about to skate into the wall, and I had to really sort of pull up there, and I lost a few tenths sort of at the end. But no, I can't be mad. P2 is a good result.
I don't know how much fuel was left in the old tank.
I actually don't know either. It's funny you mention that. I think when I was rolling around, I think it was telling me I probably would have got over the line with maybe 3 or 4 laps left. But I thought I would have had heaps when I came into the pits. I thought it was going to be way more. And then when I came onto the track and sort of looked at it, I'm like, oh, there's not actually as much going to be left as I sort of thought. But I actually couldn't tell you. I didn't look after the race, but I think I was pretty clear, I think.
Yeah, we saw a couple of people get caught out with that, unfortunately, and we were wondering if maybe you might be a little bit shy on fuel, but it turns out not to be the case, luckily, which is a good thing. Look, congratulations tonight, and we've seen it before with you. You tend to be quite good on keeping the tyres alive, and you seem to have unlocked it here at Dover now, so that's a scary prospect.
Yeah, I mean, it's, you know, a little bit of seat time and that sort of thing. Like, I'm starting to feel a bit more confident in all the cars. I mean, I don't do the Xfinity stuff a lot, but yeah, now that I've been sort of doing it for a while, I'm starting to, I feel like maybe just unlock a couple of little things. I've still got a bit to go to catch up with some of those, you know, heavy hitters in the Cup Series and that sort of stuff. But yeah, it's nice to, I guess, sort of string it along and start improving. It just makes the racing more fun, I guess, because you have a better time when you're running better. You know, I've always said I'm not stressed on winning or losing as long as, you know, we have a good race and it's mostly clean and have a good battle. I'd rather have a good battle with you know, Hamish at the end there and get second than, you know, have it be a messy race and sort of sneak a first like I did in, you know, Daytona and the trucks kind of thing. So, you know, I'll take a result like that every night.
Well, look, congratulations, and just on that, a little bit of contact between yourself and Hamish there at the end as well. Good save from you both, though.
Did we have some contact?
Yeah, you had a little bit of a bump with each other.
Oh, okay. I'm trying to actually remember when that happened. Was that in the last couple of laps or something? Or?
No, it was a few laps ago.
Okay.
So yeah, it sort of just caused Hamish to go slightly sideways.
Oh,
so
I know. Yeah, he did get on the comms at me and said he wasn't going to pull up next time. I said to the boys that I felt he was still behind me and I was still trying to take my line. And I saw him pull up and I said, oh shit, I hope I didn't hit him. No, I definitely wasn't intending on it. I just thought I could still keep taking that line. And he got on the comms and said he's not going to break next time. I'm like, all right. So I it's all in good fun, but I gave it
Yeah.
back to him on one of the later laps, and I was going to go under, and he pulled across, and I said the same thing back. But we're just having fun. It's
It was well kept by both of you. That's the main thing. It was
definitely more well kept by Hamish. If that
Yeah.
was me, I probably would have lost it. So Hamish is an expert with that stuff. He knows what he's doing.
I know he's too good in the Xfinity cars.
That
We
he
need a
is.
weight penalty for him or something like that.
It'd be nice. It'd be nice.
Congratulations, like and the usual thing of love and shout out to your sponsors.
Yeah, first and foremost, obviously Locked On Lads, and you guys put on the broadcast. I was saying to the guys too earlier, that's a top-notch package you guys got going on with the layouts and the commentary you're putting together and the interviews and everything. Super clean and professional, so we're loving it. Second up, obviously the Bandits. Love running those dudes. They know who they are. You guys know who the Bandits are. Good little collective we got going on. As far as the old stickers on the car, just my page for my MMA writing that I do, which is the Way Down, which is sort of on a bit of the back burner at the moment, but I'll still shout out anyway. Shout out to AGK42. You've got his stickers on my car too. Bloke I know that used to live in my hometown, now lives in Japan, who's a very successful, what do you call it? The pink and blue type neo type photography that he sort of does, and that sort of thing, does a fantastic job there. Also shout out to Eternal MMA, number one MMA promotion in Australia, on the regional scene on the Gold Coast. Shout out to them. Big cards happening for anyone interested in MMA. May 7th, which is actually the date I get married. Big card coming up then. So shout out to the card. I won't be able to watch because I'll be walking down the aisle, but big shout out to those guys anyway.
Congratulations, Luke, and look, good luck for the wedding, and hopefully we'll get to speak to you beforehand.
I appreciate it, Carl. Thanks as always to you as well, man.
Luke Traher there, the bride to be. Next up, we will grab up Hamish Gallagher for Mitch Motorsport, taking a impressive victory tonight, the 13. Welcome back to the booth, Mr. Hamish Gallagher, and congratulations on that brilliant victory.
Yeah, thank you, Carl. That was hard work.
It looked it. It didn't come easy to you tonight. Obviously, qualifying didn't go your way.
Yeah, no, I never have good speed here on one lap. So, yeah, it was good enough to try and survive because obviously it's quite set up really bad, really tight. So they can go smack the wall, taken out. So I just want to be good enough to be out of the trouble and then hopefully get some long runs. I can look after my tyres, which is what happened. So I'm really happy.
Absolutely. You obviously started a little bit back and then ran a bit longer than Luke Traher. Were you expecting him to have as much pace towards the end as he did? He did give you a bit of a scare with about 10 or 12 laps to go and then was still able to stick with you through that last part of the race?
No way. I thought I was going to drive away, but man, he is way better on his tyres than I was. So, yeah, really well done by Luke. He was faster than me. I was just held to have track position. So, yeah, no, it was good fun race there with Luke, especially in all the traffic. She got a bit hairy at times. There's not much room for the traffic to go at Dover. It's pretty tight. So, yeah, no, it was a good fun race with Luke.
Question without notice. We saw your car swallow up the M&M's car early in the race. Does Taylor Swift actually like M&M's?
Well done by Ryan. He's usually the worst here on tyres. I didn't expect him to be doing so well tonight. So, don't know who was driving his car. Someone else must have been driving it. But, well done to Ryan.
His mum was in the car, I think. We saw a little bit of contact between you and Lukey as well, and a big save, as well as a big moment behind one of the lapped cars as well. Did that get the old heart beating a little bit quicker?
Sure did, mate. She was. I was so close to spinning twice there. Once coming out of, I think it was Nathan, one of Matty Ray's teammates. I was hard on the brakes. She was out of control. And then there was another one coming onto the front stretch there. It was a big wreck with Jaden, unfortunately. He got taken out. I was pretty sure I was going to get taken out as well. It's just luck of the draw, I guess. Sometimes you're the bug, sometimes you're the windshield.
Yeah, and luckily you got away with it tonight. Unfortunately, we did see J. Russ suffer with the engine blow after that incident as well. So unfortunate for him, but a really good run for me tonight. Obviously, staying out that little bit longer really helped you in the latter stages of this race.
Yeah, I was going to run the thing out of fuel, but it was that last lap I lost about a second because I'm pretty sure my right front was about to blow, and it sounds like a lot of people had that issue. So I'm glad I pitted when I did. Sounds like Skirley, Matty Hunter, quite a few people had a right front go. So she was not a super fun setup when it's so right front dependent because you just spend all run just trying to look after it. But yeah, unfortunately, that's what we get sometimes. Dover seems to be real bad for blowing tyres. Like Cup car, I remember last year we were blowing the right rears. This time it's the right fronts. So shouldn't be any tyre blow-ups tomorrow night though, Carl. So that should be all right.
Yeah, hopefully we won't see some tyres blow up tomorrow night, of course, for the Talladega round of the Cup, where you'll be joining me in the commentary booth.
Yeah, that should be good fun, eh?
Yeah, looking forward to that one. So get to speak to you way before normally, because usually I say I hope to see you in the commentary booth soon. No, it's going to be tomorrow night for you, obviously. But we have got tonight to talk about just a little bit more, of course. The usual thing before we let you go of love to sponsors and general people.
Yeah, no, just thank you to Mad As Designs and Finishing Construction Australia, as usual. Well done to you boys. I hope that was a good stream, considering you guys are the naming right sponsor tonight. And just big thank you for the podcast. It's always good fun listening on. Hope Braden's dominating in the V8s like he always does nowadays, apparently.
Oh God, I don't know about that. I don't even know if I'll make the field this week.
Yeah, just big thank you to ANZCAR and and hopefully have a good fun race next week.
No, you're always welcome. Thank you so much. Hamish Gallagher, winner here tonight of the Dover 150, brought to you by Locked On Lads, of course. And we will be seeing you tomorrow night for the Talladega round of the ANZCAR Cup, of course, the Anzac round of the race as well. And look forward to having you in the commentary booth with us.
Yeah, it should be good fun, eh? It's going to be heaps of us. Well, Mark there, I assume, as well. Matty Hunter a bit of talk as well. He's not going to get out of not talking just because he's not he's on the comms. So, yeah, it'll be good fun.
We have to have some Kiwi representatives.
Oh, yeah, it'll be equal. 2 Kiwis.
Well.
Perfect for Anzac.
Exactly. Cheers, Hamish. We'll see you again soon.
See you, Cal.
So, Braden, race over and done with. The Monster Mile is done, and there we go. The Monster is up on screen indeed. The race brought us some great action. Surprisingly few cautions as well. Great to only have the one caution tonight, and great to see some green flag racing.
Yeah, really, really enjoyable. Hopefully I didn't make too many people's ears bleed on my commentary debut for the ANZCAR series. So only the one slip up with the pace car, safety car thing. And I'm thankful there wasn't more safety cars because there could have been a few more.
Yeah, absolutely. It's very easy to have happen.
Did he just make the slip up again after saying how good his not doing a slip up was?
I said pace car, safety car thing. I was on top of it.
Safety car after it, but thank you, Braden, for filling in tonight. As you know, I'm not with it. I'm not saying words. I even transitioned in the middle of Hamish's thing and probably blew out multiple people's ears. But very good racing, Carl and Braden. That was extremely interesting watching only 4 cars on the lead lap at the end. But Ryan Jones made a really good race. But what do you think? Matty Raymond, this specialist, up 17 places, and Matty Hunter up 11 places. And even Ruben Phelps, unfortunately, probably did a tyre at the end there, I think, was that with that last one, but otherwise still up 7 places even with that.
Yeah, some really good runs out there, some good recoveries as well. But yes, so just some really good drives out there tonight. And obviously, the one stop was pushing it extremely hard for those tyres. I do wonder if somebody like Matty Hunter is sort of a little bit annoyed that he didn't take tyres in that caution flag pit stop, because that could have helped him out a little bit later in the race, but he still got P10, 11 positions gained. With Matty Ray, of course, we're used to seeing him climb the field. I mean, it's kind of expected with him, Mr. Sheen, always keeping that car clean as well. He has another fantastic race for SRM. It's great to see, and as we said, we actually saw some really good racing here at Dover too, some good side-by-side action, and it was great to finally have Braden up in the booth as well and get to call an oval race with him, so that was an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much to Peter Wilkinson, of course, for the brilliant camera work and working very hard in the background, and it's great to have him back from his holidays.
Yeah, I don't feel like I've had a holiday. I feel like I've just worked 50 days straight, but yeah, it's good to be back. We got some really good cameras tonight. It was interesting having such a long race without any incidents. We don't usually see that, so it was good to see a very different race. After I heard Matty Hunter came and laid down the law after last week's effort with the Xfinity cars. Is that right, Carl?
A little bit, yes. So yeah, it was after a few incidents. I think people are just trying to drive a bit cleaner now, and hopefully we will see that in the future as well, and we'll see some more caution-free races because that's what we're aiming for, of course. The less cautions, the better, and clean racing is always what we want to see. Final round is coming up next week at Darlington, so that's going to be a test of if we get a clean race. So that's going to be interesting for 110 laps around the Darlington Raceway course here on Locked On Lads on YouTube, Twitch, and Facebook. With Locked On, though, what have we got coming up?
I'm about to edit up the podcast we did last night and release it finally, the live version. If you want to go check that out before we put it up, it's on Locked On Lads YT on YouTube, Locked On Lads on Twitch as a VOD. That's the word I'm looking for. Or you can find it on Facebook in our previous streams as well. But it will be up as an MP3 very soon. And then the actual news and results podcast will be up at the end of the week, I believe, or sometime around then. But other than that, next broadcast is next Wednesday, and then we've got a little bit of a charity stream, charity week or fortnight coming up soon. So listen out for that. But other than that, the main thing is just give us those likes and those subscribes. That's all we really ask for, and in return. But if it's really good to be back with you, Carl. That's the main thing, and then Braden finally getting up on Locked On Lads TV finally. So thank you, Braden.
No worries.
Let's wrap it up, mate. Let's call it. Let's go to next week, and thanks everyone for watching, and we'll talk to you later. Bye for now.